Welcome back, everyone, to another Hearts of Iron 4 mod spotlight, and this time we're going to be looking at what they did to Red World. If you remember, wait, what the fuck? Cuban Missile Crisis? Oh, well, it's apparently a history event. Okay, so that kind of explains what's happening. Anyway, if you remember, Red World is essentially, what if the Soviet Union won the Cold War, and it's got a divided America. Doesn't pretend to be all that plausible, but it's very much fun. If you remember, I did do a playthrough as the Soviet Union a while ago, mostly just because the Soviets were one of the only countries that actually had a focus tree, and yeah. But now, after a few months, the mod did get a few updates. So just in case you have never seen the video before, I will just give you a quick rundown of what the mod looks like. So essentially, it's a big Warsaw Pact. Essentially, it's the reverse of our timeline with a big NATO that has Europe. In this case, we have the Warsaw Pact that has Europe. And instead of the Soviet Union falling apart, it is the United States that falls apart. And there's a few countries there that we're going to look at. And essentially, the democratic countries are... It's a little bit like Kaiserreich, where it's Canada really the one that's leading the charge, I guess you could say. And then there's also another faction that is the British Isle Protection Union, which includes United Kingdom, Ireland, and Ulster. The Democratic League is Canada, Alaska, which broke off from the United States, and I believe Australia and Hawaii. New Zealand is kind of its own thing, it's derpy. So yeah, that's how it is. So, like, of course, the rest of the world is just kind of normal, except with a few more, avowedly very much Soviet sphere countries, such as you can see Chile over here is under Allende's daughter. There's a lot of liberal countries still, and, well, Africa is, of course, a lot more different in terms of what countries, their ideology is or whatever, but it's very much the same. So it's not that different. And Asia is pretty much the same, except there's United Korea. And yeah, that's about it. Of course, Europe also has a lot of countries that, you'd expect, except they're different. There's still the kingdom in Spain. Well, I mean, just like in real life, except they're not as liberal as they could be. So, moving on to America, we've got essentially a bunch of different little tiny countries. Most of them are just states that are a little bit bigger than what they're supposed to be. Like Utah is a little bit bigger than what it's supposed to be. Montana's quite a bit bigger. Then we've got Texas, which is its own thing, of course, led by Rick Perry. And then we've got Illinois, relatively big. They're just liberal. Great Lakes Republic, Midwest Union, and Union of Lincoln, which is actually led by Richard Spencer and is led by the Workers' Party of the Glorious Union, National Bolshevik, because, yes, there's also different ideologies. The whole tech tree, of course, it's set in 2010. The tech tree is based on Millennium Dawn, just like the unit system, all of that, so I'm not going to really look at it too much because it is basically a little bit like that, except it's got some differences. Like, it's starting to have its own differences. It used to be pretty much completely the same as Millennium Dawn. Now it's a little bit different, and the ideology system is slightly different in that a few ideologies have been renamed and a few of them are new ones. For example, you've got, of course, your pro-Soviet communist. You've got your revolutionary socialist, which is a little bit like combination between, well, just in general communists that don't like the Soviet Union, and that's actually what the American Northeast is under Noam Chomsky. And then you've got the moderate socialists, who's a little bit like who are a little bit like social democrats. And then you've got New Democrats, that's just left liberals. You've got liberals, centrist, conservatives. Then you've got monarchists, nationalists, and fascists, who are the extreme right wing. And then you've also got National Bolshevik, because why the fuck not? We've got memes. That's basically about it. And that's all that was already in it. So America is mostly split, besides all of these like little tiny minors that are in the Midwest region. The three big ones that America is split into are the American Republic, the American People's Commonwealth, and then we've got the United American People's Republics or something like that. the UAPR. So that's essentially California with the CPU, the Communist Party of the United States, maybe? Huh, interesting. There's the People's Commonwealth, which is under the IWW, the International Workers of the World, and the American Republic, which is under Rumsfeld's Republican Party. So essentially, when the United States fell apart, the whole South is what like the big holdout of the USA was. You can actually reform the USA as a few of these countries. For example, if we go down, yep, you can reform the United States and say the United States are back, but also the American People's Commonwealth can reform the United States if you are part of, I forget exactly who can do that. All right, if you have taken the 1990 Constitution, okay, so that's if you have impeached Chomsky and then you've said, let's not have a civil war. Okay, well, so essentially you can see what has been different is that they've added a bunch of focus trees. Now, it used to be that there was only the Soviet focus tree, which is over here, which is pretty much about, like, how are you going to do, how are you going to enforce Russian supremacy? Are you going to be with Putin? And that's kind of a nationalist path. You can have Zyuganov, who is the successor to just the standard Soviet line. Then you've got Rutskoy, who can do some weird stuff. And then you've got Gorbachev, who can reform the union and either bring it into democracy or reform it into a new union, which would be this one. And you're going to become a revolutionary socialist, I believe. However, that's about it for it. Okay, I'm probably going to get copyrighted for that. Anyway, there's a few more focus trees that have been added. So there is one for the United Arab Republic, which is a thing in this timeline. So of course, the United Arab Republic in our real life timeline, it was a thing. Syria and Egypt united into one country, and eventually it kind of fell apart. Not really eventually, and very, very quickly fell apart. But in this, it actually survives. It is part of the, or is led by the Arab Socialist Union. And the whole thing about the Arab Republic is that you're going to have either a Arab civil war or not, but most likely you're going to have it. And then you can try to either rise up for Syria or Egypt, or you can try to restore Arab unity. And it's all about this. There's a lot of focuses, as you can see. What's really great is that also the art is just very good looking, in my opinion. It's nothing too... it's like nothing too polished in a way, but it's also very good looking, as you can see. And it does provide quite a good visual clue of what you're doing. And you can have Islamic socialism, because what the hell not? And yeah, essentially because Assad is going to try to break Syria off from the United Arab Republic. If you want to see how that all works, there's actually a playthrough of Syria from the Aphelios Project, another YouTuber. He's pretty good. And yeah, you can go ahead and check him out. Just like type. I'm just going to link it. Then another one that has a focus tree is Ethiopia. Ethiopia is under the Soviet sphere with Desalegn, who is actually the current president of Ethiopia in real life, leading the country, but you can have some problems, and those can lead to either the restoration of this guy, well, not this guy literally, but the restoration of the Ethiopian Empire, or you can have some different outcomes, such as a military government, a united republic, and trying to essentially continue the legacy of Pan-Africanism, actually, which is interesting. You can like make a big African flag, and you can even unite Africa. That's good for you. And that's it for Africa, I believe. I don't think there's anyone else that has, except Egypt and Ethiopia, except those two guys that have a focus tree. There's events, by the way, for almost all countries, especially a few countries have also civil wars, such as the Arab Islamic Republic, also known as Libya, who's going to explode into Tunisia and a bunch of Libyan civil war countries. In Europe, only Italy and United Kingdom have focus trees. United Kingdom is actually very, very awesome. They can do a crap load of stuff. These focus trees are massive, as you can see. So kind of like one of those things that I don't like as much about Red World is that all of these focuses are 70 days. I think they should do it like, or rather he, because there's only one guy that's developing this. It's Kaiser 1871, something like that. I think he should have these as like slower focuses because, to be honest, it takes quite a while to go through them. And other than the United Kingdom, who can actually do some pretty nasty stuff, like make a crazy... This is like under Theresa May. It's some kind of crypto-fascist government that they can have. Or they can have the legacy of Mosley. You can have a democratic government, of course. Or you can have... you can become also pro-Soviet and, in fact... join the European Union, which is of course, the USSR in this one, and I'll get to the European Union in a bit. Or you can have a republic, or you can have a massively like conservative revival, and try to make the Queen great again, or whatever. With Italy, you start to get into the European Union. The European Union is still around, except as you can see, it's got a bit of a reskin, and it's essentially all the European parts of the Warsaw Pact, you know, not the Soviets, but like Czechoslovakia, Hungary, Romania, Bulgaria, Italy, Albania too? Wow, Albania too. Yugoslavia is its own thing. It's still got Milosevic for some reason, and Greece is also its own thing. Turkey's not, though. Rip Turkey. And of course, Saddam's still around, because no Americans to ruin his day, and Switzerland is its own thing, because who would touch Switzerland? Who knows? And essentially the EU, you can unite it as well. And through Italy, you can become like the big giant USSR or whatever. If you go down this line, the European communism, you come down and you just come down and unite the EU, because why the hell not? You can also do a lot of nasty things with Italy. You can have an Italian federation, release a bunch of little tiny Italies. You can see they all release themselves. And yeah, this is essentially what you can do with Italy. Then there's other countries. For example, India has a focus tree, but they don't have pictures for it, or either icons, which makes it all kind of derpy. And it's just a freaking huge focus tree. This one is like the biggest, to be honest. And the one I've not looked at either, because it's just so insanely big that there's no way, like, I can understand what's going on in this without some visual clue. Anyway, other than India, you've also got a focus tree for, of course, the two Americans that I've showed you. There's the American Republic and there's the American Commonwealth. And these two are pretty great. And actually, the next focus tree that is going to be added, they said, is going to be the UAPR. And actually Cascadia that can break off. There's also focus trees for break-offs of these countries that that you've seen. I'm not sure about the Soviet Union. I'm not sure if you can break off Ukraine or something from it. Or Belarus or anything like that. Huh. Latvia has a weird flag. But you can break off countries off of Egypt. You can break off, of course, Libya, but, you know, these don't have focuses. I wonder if the Italian breakaways have focus trees, but whatever, it's its own thing. And yeah, the other two big ones, of course, are the American Republic and the American People's Commonwealth. The American Republic actually was the second one that was released. And again, it's kind of like if you're going to be trying to unite with Texas, who was, of course, like your, I guess, closest affiliated state that's broken away. If you're going to try to be a just regular nationalist to continue on with the whole nationalism shtick. Or you can also come down around and restore democracy somewhere. Looks like you can also have, you can also have some pretty extreme nationalism. And yeah, you can have David Duke in charge. Of course, that might not be the best thing ever. And who's actually... If you do down with Duke, who are you actually gonna have as a president? I have no idea. You cannot have Trump as the Americans, but you can have Trump as the Canadians. Also, there's another thing that you can do for the American Republic. For some reason, you can also restore, or rather, build a American kingdom. Confederatism. You can proclaim the Confederate States, of course. Well, sure. If you want to do that. Or you can recreate the United States, of course. And yeah, one thing that you can do is you can have an American kingdom, which is like, sure, whatever. And yeah, again, like, you cannot have Donald Trump as the American Republic. If we tag over to APR, I believe. Oh, sorry. Well, so we're gonna have to go to the USA. Like, there is actual leaders for all of these, which is interesting. Most of these are Elizabeth Warren as a new Democrat. Yeah, most of these are, yeah, for example, John Bachtel. All of these are, like, actual people. So most of, like, the most important countries have all, like, real leaders. Some of them might not be the most important. New England Royal Council. What the hell? And yeah, in fact, the moderate faction of the IWW is led by Bernie Sanders. So whatever. And if we go over to Canada, who's going to get a focus tree eventually, the Liberal, I believe, or maybe the centrist. I don't see it. I guess they haven't done these yet. There's Stephen Harper. Stockwell Day. Yeah, okay, it doesn't look like there's Donald Trump put in yet, but they said that he's going to be a possible president for Canada, which is hilarious, because he's supposed to have fled from America. Like a lot of oh yeah, Donald Trump Jr. There he is. You must be a fascist, a nationalist, a national conservative, or a centrist. So he's of course the son, but you can have the father as well. And I don't see him here, but yeah, you can have him. And as you can see, there's also a lot of ministers, and they actually have a lot of different like stats that they can give, and a lot of them are even Eric Trump. Is there Ivanka? Who knows? And yeah, a lot of these are Jordan Peterson. A lot of these are real people, as you can see. A lot of this guy actually was in the news a few days ago because I don't know, it was just a weird thing. That possible minister was in the news, so I remember him. And oh, there he is. Libertarian capitalist. He can be an industry minister. And these are supposed to be based on the DH system of ministers. Like, you have a cabinet that's already made up, and then you can just kind of customize it. And yeah, there aren't that many like custom things and other things, but that's its own thing. I wonder what kind of politicians you can have here. Oh, looks like that's not made yet. Oh, that's unfortunate. So Canada's already done, but the American Commonwealth is not, which is, well, is the American Republic done? Ah, guess he was kind of an experiment along with the Soviets. The Soviets can also have their own like cabinet politicians that are, you know, their own thing. For example, right now the second in command is Yuganov, but you can also have Lukashenko, who is, of course, you can only have him if you're a communist or national Bolshevik, and he's, of course, in real life the president of Belarus. You can have Putin in there, Medvedev, who is a silent workhorse, kind of makes sense, and then some other known faces are around. Patriarch Kirill, you know, a bunch of different guys that you may see around in the... you can even have Alexander Dugin, Vladimir Zhirinovsky, just a bunch of... what the No, I don't even want to go into that meme. And then, yeah, a lot of people that you might be familiar with. Even Yulia Tymoshenko, the one-time... not sure if she was president or head of government of Ukraine, then kind of impeached in a way. Not really sure if it's the correct term for Ukraine. impeachment, but yeah. You can even have Nursultan Nazarbayev, who in real life is like the little dictator of, was it Uzbekistan? No, wait. Nazarbayev, I don't remember Nazarbayev if he was in, I think he was in Turkmenistan, right? Yeah, of course, there's still a lot of countries that you can break off over here. Kazakhstan, Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan, all of these countries can be broken off. Are there any countries for China? But there's the Chinese Social Republic, whatever that is. Oh, right, it's this one. Right, because for some reason... Oh, yeah, right, this is actually the son of, or rather the grandson of Jiang Jieshi. And he's a fascist, apparently. Japan is its own thing. Of course, they don't have a focus tree, which is kind of sad. China also does not have a focus tree, which is kind of sad. But yeah, whatever. So that's about it. You've seen exactly, well, not exactly, but mostly how it works. And I do invite you guys to go down and download it. I will put the link down, and it is a very, very interesting little mod. Probably like the most interesting country in some ways is Italy, because there's a lot of weird stuff that can happen. Also, you can become like the papal state or whatever. It's really weird. I'm not really gonna spoil it too much, but yeah, you can have some nasty, nasty things. And the music mod is pretty good because it's got Rara Rasputin, lover of the Russian Queen. So I do hope that you'll give it a try, and yeah, I'll see you soon. Have a good day.